Welcome to Behind the Message. My name is Jay, and we just got to hear Tammy do week 3 of Profiles in Courage,
yes.
all on Esther. It was really great. How was that for you? Were you excited for this one?
I love it. I love these Old Testament stories. There's
awesome.
Just so much, we always, sometimes anybody that would think that the Bible is boring has never really read it.
Right, exactly. Some of these Old Testament stories, you're like, what? Like, that's in there?
Yeah.
This is what happened?
Yeah.
If you haven't got a chance to go and hear her message, I want to encourage you guys to go and do that before you listen to this conversation. I promise it'll make much more sense, these questions that I'm going to be asking. But speaking of questions, let's jump right into it. I had a few good ones as I was listening to you talk. You talked a lot about the Persian party.
Yes.
I'm surprised you didn't trip over that more. Persian party. It's kind of just fun to say.
It is. Lots of P's in this talk.
Yes. So I was wondering, for you, when you go to a party, it doesn't have to be a Persian party, but when you go to a party, what is there, or what item signifies for you, oh yeah, this is going to be a good party?
Well, you're asking an introvert. So my answer to that is probably a nice corner spot where I can sit and just talk with a close friend of mine.
With like what? No loud music.
Either that or the party gets canceled and I don't have to know.
And then you're like, oh, my night just got cleared up.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm like an extrovert that appreciates my privacy sometimes. So I'm right there with you. Like if a party gets canceled last minute, I'm like, that's actually really nice.
Yeah. Or give me that one close friend that I can have a really good conversation with.
Right.
So in other words, not much of a Persian party person.
Right. Or Funyuns. For me, if it has Funyuns,
there you go.
I'm usually like, okay, this person knows what's up. They know it's good. All right, another question I had for you, as you were talking through this story of Esther here, you get to that point where she's writing to her cousin to kind of encourage her and talk to her. And I think one of the most quoted or famous verses that comes out of Esther is that for such a time as this.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time in your life where either you realized, man, you're looking back like, man, I was there for such a time as this, or that somebody else was placed in your life for such a time as this, to lead, to help you, encourage you to do something, or maybe to take that next step? What stories would you have?
Well, sometimes when I think about that, it seems like a lot of times there's these moments where God brings two people together for such a time as this, of some type of role that you need to play in each other's lives. What immediately popped into my mind was I have a friend, her name is Monica, and we go back, I don't know, about 25 years. And I met her before I came to community, I was in campus ministry. And I met her through campus ministry because she and her husband were in campus ministry. And it was one of those relationships, those friendships where you just could tell that God was at work.
Right.
And really, through that friendship and some stuff that was going on in me, she was the one that spoke into my life that gave me the sense of freedom and release, that it was time to leave where I was serving and to look to what's next.
Wow.
And so ultimately, like her speaking these words into my life and being present with me in that, it was such a key for such a time as this for me, which ultimately led me to come to community, and I just celebrated 20 years.
That's awesome.
On staff here.
Congratulations.
So I mean, I think of that, but then the interesting thing was 2 years later, God used me in the exact same way in her life.
Oh, wow.
Like she was here visiting me, and I can still remember being in my townhome, and we got on our knees and just started praying, and it was clear that God was leading her and her husband to a next step. So sometimes I think of just those types of encounters.
Yeah, those beautiful moments and friendships that can do that.
Have you ever had one of those?
Oh man, I think of so many. The one that I always tell is of my buddy Tony from before I was ever a Christian. In my life, I thought he was going to be the guy, just this older guy, cool guy I wanted to be like, good ball player. And he was really the one that not only introduced me to coming to youth group, coming to church, but was really the one who invited me to the event that I found my way back to God and got saved at. And so he played this. We don't like really talk or hang out much at all now. So it's always interesting how like friendships are there for a reason or a purpose or a season. But man, every time I get a chance, Tony is the guy that I bring up.
Which that is so interesting, because sometimes we think it has to be this real close friend in order for us to speak words into each other's lives. But we were talking about in this message, you are who you are where you are when you are for such a time as this. Right. And in that instance, like, what if he hadn't? Yeah. What if he hadn't stepped into the purpose that God had for him in that moment? I mean, God certainly could have reached you some other way.
Right.
But for him, to step in courageously and make that invite.
Yeah.
Kind of say whatever he said into your life.
Yeah.
It's
And then get to
huge.
see that, like there's just something so cool when you get to take someone who doesn't know God at all and then see their journey progress into not knowing God, kind of getting curious, and then having that moment with God where everything clicks, and then seeing where they go. Even if you don't stay in complete contact with them, if you're just Facebook friends, to see where they end up. Because you're right, like I wouldn't be here, right now.
It just makes me realize how important it is that we are living with our eyes open.
Yeah.
In that sense. Because again, as we talked about in the message, you are where you are for a purpose. And God has plans. He has things for you to do. He has things that probably uniquely each one of us can speak. I mean, I'm the only person that lives in between the two neighbors that I have.
Exactly.
You're the only person that, lives across the street from the person that lives in the house across the street. And so, to recognize that there are purposes at our fingertips every single day. And usually what makes the difference is whether or not we have the courage to step into them.
Exactly, right? And they're so limited. Like I think of those like ads where it's like, call now in the next 60 seconds to get this, we'll double your order. It's like that in the sense of like, you have a time right now where you have the possibility to reach somebody that might not be there. Like if Tony didn't do it then, I would have moved on, to another team. We would have not maybe been friends after that.
Well, and we probably all, as you're saying that, I think of moments where I didn't have the courage and I, held back from saying something because it felt weird or awkward and I do regret that.
Yeah.
I had a neighbor that moved away that towards the end of their time there, looking back on it, I'm like, oh, I think I had a window there to maybe, say something or reach out in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I regret that I didn't.
Yeah.
And so, and again, I don't think we have to beat ourselves up over those things, but it makes me go, okay, the next time I see that window, like I want to step into what God might be doing.
Yeah, because we can learn from not doing it and then create a better sense of urgency of like, I should be taking those types of invitations. And that's really what my last question that I want to ask you about was you kind of ended this message with that invitation for everyone listening here and now to that message or even to the behind the message. What would that look like? Some practical ways or maybe something you didn't get to share just because of time restraints that you wanted to add in there and really help make it personalized for some of the people hearing and watching this?
Yeah. I'd say that we only had a brief moment to talk about it, but I think we get so stuck in the someday. So like, and I can do this too. It's like someday I'll know enough to do this or someday I'll be in this place and then I can, whatever it might be. Or someday I'll chase after this particular dream. And I think, honestly, I feel like the evil one is very present in the some days.
Sure, yeah.
Because as long as we don't take that step of courage, a lot of these purposes that we're talking about, a lot of the moving the Jesus mission forward, a lot of ways we can bless others get thwarted.
Right.
They stop. And so I think maybe just to get honest with ourselves in some senses where maybe we're stuck in a someday and start asking, okay, what does it take for me to make it today?
Yeah.
And if it's a big dream, if it's a big thing that you feel called to go after, maybe it's just what's the step that I can take today towards that.
Yeah.
But I think it's so easy for all of us to get stuck in that someday. And so I'd encourage us to maybe, open ourselves up to that. Say, God, is there anywhere where I'm stuck in the someday? And help me to see what it means to live for your purpose today.
Yeah, what a courageous prayer. As we're talking about courage, right? Like that's something that could be scary because it's like, okay, God will answer.
Yeah.
If we really ask him that, we really pray that, he'll show us. And then it's back on us, ball's back in our court to go, okay, I'm going to take that step.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's good.
Thank you, Tammy, so much
Thank
for
you, Jake.
being here. Thank you all for watching Behind the Message here. To learn more and to get more involved, and maybe that next step might be at communitychristian.info. I encourage you guys to go there to check out more messages like this, more Behind the Messages, and more resources that could help you guys take that next step. But until next time, we'll see you guys.
I'm going to miss this set, man.
It
This is our last
It was a
Behind the
great.
Message.
It was
This
a
is the
great
last
set.
one.
In this look.
In this look,
because
so we moved to the yellow box.
Oh, but we'll miss all the airplanes flying over.
We
and
will.
the
Yeah.
train whistles.
And
There were a lot of
there was a plane.
today.
Well, I filmed one thing today.